So Garrett Cummings, thank you so much for joining me on this call, and congratulations on your Associate Spotlight for July. It's an honor to finally get a chance to talk to you, even though it's virtual. As fast as we're growing, it's always a pleasure to get to know the people that are making Adafio and our clients so successful.
Of course, I'm glad to be here.
Good. Can you tell me a little bit about who you are and what you do for Adafio?
Yes, I am actually a recent graduate from UCA. I graduated with a cybersecurity degree. I went through the internship process, got familiarized with the clients and the staff, everybody here at Conway Regional, and I've been here since. They started me off just doing basic learning stuff, getting familiar with the system, and then they moved forward into adding more and more responsibility into that. I've been working here for a little over a year. The majority of the day-to-day is just answering the help desk ticket with a little bit of security work. We've got the phish alerts and the detections that we've got set up for malicious activity on devices. So on top of the general help desk, ensuring that all of the staff here at Conway Regional have everything that they need, everything working perfectly fine. I keep up with some of the stuff that Seth and Cheryl work on with the security, keeping everything in line there.
When did you realize that this was the path you wanted to take?
That one's a little bit more of a tricky question. My freshman year, I went to UCA bound and determined that I was going to do biomedical engineering. My ultimate goal with that was I wanted to get a job at a company designing and implementing mechanical prosthesis for veterans or anyone else who had lost a limb in a car accident, anything like that. Written up designs and plans and all that kind of stuff to have it set to where you could connect it to nerve endings to where it could be controlled by the brain, just like a normal limb would be. And so I got into that, started working on it, and it just never really felt right. I knew that's what I wanted to do, but it just something seemed off the entire time I was going through that program. And then UCA, my sophomore year, opened up their cybersecurity program, and I was like, I've always wanted to go into something with tech. I knew that much, but the medical side of it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to focus on. Whenever the opportunity presented itself for the cybersecurity program, I was like, hey, that's the best of the worlds that I could offer right there. So I switched over to cybersecurity because I knew I wanted to stay in that area, but I didn't know exactly where I wanted to go. And by focusing on cybersecurity, you get exposed to all of the different opportunities that exist within the technology area. So you're not stuck focusing on one specific thing. You can branch off of that into any of the aspects of IT.
And that's what brought you here today, right?
Wow. That's what brought me here.
That's great. I'm glad that you were open to many opportunities and you realized that when something's not a fit, you listen to yourself. Yeah, that's important. If you weren't doing this, it seems to me like you found your calling. Like, I don't know what else you would want to be doing. Like if you as a child, like, did you ever idea like what you wanted to do or what excited you?
I mean, growing up, just typical guy stuff, all the little boys growing up, I want to be a fireman or I want to be in the police department, all of that stuff. But as I got a little bit older, I really considered going into the medical field. I knew I wanted to be somewhere around technology involved, but I also looked at the medical field as well because both of my parents are physical therapists. I grew up in the medical field my entire life, ins and outs of it and paperwork and whole 9 yards. That always seemed like something I wanted to do, is eventually go to PT school and take over my parents' business that they have.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the biomedical engineering. The more I got into it, the more I realized that it didn't quite seem to be where I belonged.
And with the cyber field, can you tell me a little bit more about what you love most about this role and what you're doing maybe with Conway Regional? But is there something that like excites you every day?
I'm a big fan of puzzles and brain teasers. So whenever cybersecurity is involved, it's very similar to that. Is you have a breach or an exposure or anything that could possibly damage the system or the integrity, and you go through all of the events that led to it, all of the events that happened afterwards. All of this stuff gets pieced together like a puzzle until you eventually come to the conclusion of what's the problem, what caused this, and how can we fix it. It's more about the hunt of what can you possibly do to stop this from happening in the future, and just the satisfaction of knowing that you've plugged this hole that no one knew about.
Yeah, that has to be pretty exhilarating. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. No, not there's always a new day, something new to explore, and what an ever-evolving landscape too.
Of
Trying to
course,
always stay ahead of it.
everything technology is
Yeah.
advancing so quickly. There's it's hard to
Yeah,
keep up. It's always
it
new.
really is. So what do you do when you're not working? Doing puzzles?
So a large portion of my free time, of course, growing up in the boonies of Arkansas,
Yeah.
I'm still out there fishing and working in the yard, tending the garden, especially right now where it's super hot outside and you can't really enjoy doing anything outside. I actually have a server at the house that I have implemented some known operating systems that are known to have exploits and holes and stuff in them. I've been teaching myself the basic principles of pen testing so that way I can
Very good.
learn how to reverse engineer them, so to speak, and learn how to avoid those kinds of things happening in the future. So that and a couple of different websites that they offer that offer practice and labs and stuff like that. I spend a lot of time working on those.
That's fantastic. I mean, when you're so passionate about something that you can actually get paid to do it and
Oh,
you're
I
learning
know.
along the line, it seems like a win-win all around.
Oh, for sure. Hit the jackpot.
Right. Do you have anything that like a fun, rare fact or something that people don't know about you that they would surprise you if you told them?
Well, there's actually a few of those that I could say. One of them is back in high school. I don't know why. It was probably one of just those ADHD fixations at the time. I got really, really into beekeeping,
Yeah?
which is not something that most people say, but I read through numerous books and all the videos that YouTube had to offer and all of the tutorials and guides and everything you could possibly think of, and finally convinced my dad that we should order us a box of bees and a beehive and
Yes.
everything. And so we ordered that and got it set up and tended to them for a couple of years. And to this day, my dad still has that beehive, and he's
Really?
got a couple more set up that he's rescued out of people's houses.
It has to be such a validating and just empowering, satisfying hobby,
It's
especially at the condition of bees these days, that you're actually helping support and give them a place of safety that they can still do what they're called to do.
absolutely, and they're so intricate that no one seems to really understand like the inner workings of how it all
Yeah.
works. But the more research you do, there's an entire subculture that lives inside of those beehives. Everything has their own job. They all have their own goals. Everything is for the betterment.
I'm so glad that your dad's still doing it. Is he retired now?
He's not. They actually still work. That's one of the good things. Is it's one of those hobbies you can do whether you're retired or you're still actively working all day every day. There's not really a lot of tending to them you actually have to do.
Really?
Once you get them set up and they start going, you can pretty much just let them do their own thing.
Okay. I'm gonna have to talk to you about this more offline.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued. I would love to contribute and do something, and I don't need a pet. I've got 3 kids, but I might be able to handle bees. That's something that
Absolutely.
I could actually consider as
It
a
takes a little bit to
enjoyable.
get over the fear of
Yeah,
messing with them, but
once I get past that, and then maybe also knowing that my kids maybe are not allergic to bee
right.
stings.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
key.
definitely a big one.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing is it cracks the guys that I work with. It cracks them up every time I say something about it. But technically, I'm a cyborg.
Really?
So about a year ago, I purchased and implanted a subdermal RFID transmitter in my hand.
Yeah?
So, like the access doors that use your badge taps and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Those work off of a low frequency RFID signal. I got one of those chips. It's kind of like the little circular ones that you can get that you can clone that code onto, but it just sits right here underneath the skin.
Yeah.
And so I've got that code on there to where you can use that and tap my hand up against the doors and unlock the doors.
Man, you're so advanced. Watch out, world.
They
That
make
is
fun of
that
me
is
in
a
the
fun
office
fact.
all the time. They're
Yeah.
talking about you're going to be the first person to institute the Neuralink when Elon Musk comes out with it.
Yeah. He might hire you.
Oh,
Watch
I
out.
wish.
Getting it off of
Hey,
you.
hey.
Yeah. Do you have a personal motto or mantra that you live by?
I don't really have a specific one, but whenever I'm faced with difficulties or anything like that, I focus a lot on what I was taught being brought up as a kid. The common morals, you work for what you get. You don't get anything for free. And if something is difficult, that means you're doing it right. You're going down the right path. Because that was instilled in me a lot as a kid is nothing is free, nothing is easy. So if you have issues with anything that you're working on, then that just means
Hmm.
that you're doing it right. You're going the right direction. Always look for
Tenacity.
challenge.
Yeah.
Always look for something more challenging to forward yourself. Always keep
Yeah.
thinking.
Stop to not get too complacent and comfortable. When you start doing that, then it's time to push the envelope a little bit, get outside your
Right.
comfort zone.
Comfort is where goals go to die. That's what I was always told.
Yeah, I kind of have that same mindset, but sometimes though it's difficult for me to ever like truly relax, you know? I always feel like
Oh,
I've got to be doing something.
I completely understand that.
Yeah. If you could meet anybody in the world, dead or alive, who would it be?
I've read through that question and I thought about it for a long time whenever you sent me that list. It's such a hard choice because I can't really say one definitive person
Okay.
that I would want to meet, mainly for the sole fact of no one person has all the answers. All of these people throughout history and even today that I would have all these questions for, I can't ask them all to one person. I would need to go through multiple people to actually get full stories. I'm one of those that's very much you have to hear all the sides of a story to fully understand it.
Okay, so I want to add to that then. If you could have a table, like a dinner party, like who would be at your dinner party?
I would have to say probably Elon Musk for one of them, just because he's come from having mental disabilities to building one of the technology forefront runners
Hmm.
for the world right now. I would have to have him. I would definitely need to have Neil deGrasse Tyson because you always have to keep expanding your world.
Yeah.
Um, and then I really would like to say that I would want to have, who was it? The last person I was thinking of. Oh, I'm drawing a blank right now. I don't really remember.
You
I
can
can't.
come back and tell me if you remember. But what question would you want to ask? What would be the first question you would ask?
The first question is how, what is the easiest way to overcome hurdles in your life that seem unsurmountable? Whenever you're met with something that you just, no matter how hard you try, no matter what you do, no matter where you go, you can never achieve this goal. What
Hmm.
is what is the steps and what's the best approach to take to help overcome this roadblock? When you're met with any kind of adversity, anything like that, anything that might hinder your ability to progress, what can you do and where can you go to look for other answers other than just the people around you?
That's an admirable question. I didn't know Elon Musk had learning disabilities.
Yeah, he is. I think I'm not specifically sure what type. I know he has autism of some form. I want to say he has a very high functioning form of
Sure.
Asperger's,
Hmm.
but I'm not 100% sure. He's not like super public about it. He's touched on it a few times in some different
Yeah.
things that he's done.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely beats to his own drum, and it's definitely enough to where he doesn't let fear or ego get in way of his success at all. And that's something we could all learn from. It's going forth even when you feel that you're going to be embarrassed. Well, that if you're embarrassed, that's your ego. Like just get
Right.
past that and move forward. But we
Absolutely. You're only
humans
here
like
once.
to we like to make it the most challenging and difficult way to find it, to the easiest, what is it, the most challenging path. It's really not that hard, but we make it hard. Well, if you remember that other person, you can just blurb it at any point. But do you have 3 words that best describe you?
You're asking hard questions here. Oh, man. I
I
would
think you're
definitely.
curious.
Oh, absolutely. I'll take that one.
Okay.
I'll go with curious. I would definitely say passionate. I like to say forward thinking because I don't like to live in the past. If you make a mistake, so what? Get over it. Keep
Yeah.
going. There's no point in dwelling on things that have already happened. You can only change things in the future. If it's out of your control, leave it be.
Right. No point in worrying about something that you can't, yeah, you don't have any control over. You're right.
Exactly.
Those are good. So forward thinking, passionate, and curious. You
I'll
have
take
any?
that.
Okay.
We'll stick with that one for now.
Okay. What's one thing you can't live without? Obviously, it's your code in your hand because it's always with you.
Mm, one thing I can't live without. Definitely family.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you may not like them. You may absolutely despise them. You may not to speak for 20 years, but family is family, and family sticks together. That's your only
They'll come
family.
out of the woodwork when they need to, don't they?
Absolutely.
They do. Yeah. You see it especially when in siblings, it's like even begrudgingly, but the minute one talks is, one of the siblings is being bullied, oh, family comes back. They're like, you can't do that.
Oh,
It's only me that
absolutely
can
not.
bully them. As an example. Okay, so now I'll end with the final question, and that is everybody at Adafio has a story of what brought them here and why they joined the team. And if you could share yours, and then maybe also expand just a little bit on the internship experience too.
Absolutely. I had never heard of Adafio before. I never knew it existed. And my girlfriend actually messaged me one day and was like, "Hey, you're looking for IT jobs still, right?" Well, yeah. He goes, "Well, there's this guy that I know, and I've known him for like a year or so. His name is Will. You should come by here one day and meet with him and talk to him a little bit, just if anything, just to get some extra info in the technology field of work, whether it be cloud or security or
Yeah.
just general IT." I went by there and met with him, talked to him for a couple of hours, and it was Will Smothers, and great guy, by the way.
Great
And
guy.
he he mentioned, he was like, "Yeah, so I work for Adafio, and they actually have an internship program that they reach out to all the college kids around the areas and take in interns. They typically do quite a few every year. If you're interested in that, you should reach out to them and send in an application and everything." And I was like, "Okay, why not? Worst thing that happens is I say no."
Right.
So I sent that in and shot him a message. It was like, "Hey, I sent that in. I appreciate all the help." And Amy actually reached out to me, I think it was less than a day afterwards, and was like, "Hey, by the way, we're doing some interns this year if you're interested." And I was okay. so
Wow.
so I went through the whole onboarding process, and she showed me the Conway office and everything like that. And me and Logan actually started at the same time, and we got in our cars and followed her over to the hospital, and she walked us over to the IT department. Was like, "All right, guys, this is where you're going to be. Here's everybody, and here's what they do. If y'all want to take it from here." And so Ryan, he was actually the head guy here for
Yeah.
at the time, and he grabbed me and Logan, and he was like, "All right, y'all come on, we're going to go on a tour." And so he walked us all around the hospital. I was lost as could be. I had no idea where I was. And we finally make it back to the office, and he was like, "All right, y'all got all that?" Nope. And so he got us set up at our desks and give us our computers and everything, and we went through all the training and onboarding and started off nice and slow. He introduced us to the systems, gave us a crash course on how it all works, and then said, "All right, y'all are going to start doing some tickets from now on. Just let us know if you have any questions." And I never in my life had a job that was they just wanted you to do on the job training. And I was so happy that that was what happened, because I can't stand the week and a half, 2 week long process before you actually get to start doing any work. If I'm coming in, let me work.
Yeah.
And so he did. He just set us down and said, "All right, if you have any questions, let us know. You're going." And
Wow.
so
That's
it
a that's a lot of trust, isn't it? It's a lot of trust knowing that they've got hired these interns and they believe that you have the capabilities they need. And if not, well then they'll help redirect. But until that happens, you're gonna continue to learn on the job. It's perfect.
absolutely learn by doing is
Yeah.
my That's the only way I can learn. It seems like.
Experiential and hands-on is something a lot more attainable than the whole pushing presentations or constantly lecturing you, we
Absolutely.
get,
I could read a book 12 times and not get the same thing I'd get for
yeah.
10 minutes worth of doing it.
What would you say to these kids? Sorry, kids is kind of what I feel like they still are until they get the full-time job, to pursue something like an internship program.
Even if it's not for Adafio, which
Yeah.
I will highly recommend Adafio because I have loved every minute that I've been here, and that's saying something, because I typically find one or two peeves that I have with every job that I've had, but so far a year and some into it, and I've never had any kind of a qualm with anything or anybody that I've met through Adafio. But even if you don't get an internship with Adafio, definitely look into an internship of some sort, because even if that internship does not lead to a full-time job with that company,
Right.
internships are going to give you the opportunity to learn hands-on skills that are going to be used from many different companies, because a lot of IT companies are going to use similar software, similar code, whatever it may be. Just being able to get your hands on this software that you either may not have access to or may not have the funds to afford, because a lot of them tend to be kind of expensive, just to be able to get hands-on experience that you can use and implement somewhere else, or use to guide you into another software or another form of doing things. There's no value to it other than it will guide you to what you need to know. It's just invaluable. There's nothing else that really matters, because you could have 30 years of experience, but if you don't know what you're doing, then
you got to practice it, don't you? You've got to actually put it into action.
Exactly.
Reading about it is just surface. It's not, you've got to really dig into it and know how it works before you can really try to trust it and trust yourself.
And not to mention, internships can offer you a more broad range of resources. So if you're doing it on yourself, you may be able to only use these 3 things or use whatever campus is giving you or anything like that. But these internships give you a wider range of directions you can move towards. And it gives you a trial on which ones you like and which ones you don't like, so that way you can find where you feel like you fit better.
And then you don't end up doing prosthetics when that's not something you even want to do at all.
Right.
But, well, keep learning, keep growing, and keep up the great work you're doing with the Conway team. And it was really great talking to you, Garrett, not Derek. I did not mean to say Derek. Anyway, congratulations again on your July Associate Spotlight. And I look forward to meeting you soon one day.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Have a great one.
You as well. Thank you. Bye-bye.